Today, we're going to break down a pretty radical shift in global power, the Trump Peace Council. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, a world where international order isn't a given right, but something you can actually buy. Let's dig into what that really means.
All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the shocking launch in Davos. Then, we'll examine exactly how this new system puts a price tag on power. After that, we'll unpack the huge systemic risks it creates. And finally, we'll ask the big question: what does this jungle future actually look like? So picture this. It's January 22nd, 2026. You're at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. And right there, amidst all the usual talk among the global elite, something fundamentally changes. This wasn't just another photo op. It was, in effect, the birth of a new market-based rival to the entire global order we've known since World War II. Let's just trace the timeline for a second. The Board of Peace, or BOP as we'll call it, actually started out as a UN resolution. Its initial mandate was pretty specific: oversee the reconstruction of Gaza. But watch what happens. By the time they get to that signing ceremony in Davos, any specific mention of Gaza has vanished from the charter. Now, this wasn't just mission creep. It was a very calculated pivot. The goal was clearly to create a permanent global institution that operates entirely on its own terms. And this, right here, illustrates the core economic shift we're talking about. For over 80 years, the UN system has operated, in theory, as a public good. Now, it's been imperfect, absolutely, but the underlying principle was collective security for all. The BOP introduces something totally different, a club good model. Suddenly, access, security, and influence, they're no longer universal rights. They're exclusive benefits for paying members. So, the big question is, how exactly does this new global club set its prices? How does it conduct business? The price of admission? A cool $1 billion. That's what it costs to get a permanent seat on the board, and you have to pay up within the first year. If you miss that window, well, you're looking at a 3-year term, and whether you get to renew is completely up to the chairman. This isn't just a fee, you see. It's a loyalty test. And let's be really clear about what that $1 billion is. It's not a donation to some common cause. It's a transaction. Countries are literally buying influence. This is the very essence of what we call transactional governance, a system where the old principles of international relations get replaced by the raw, simple logic of the marketplace. And if you look at who's joining, you can see the different strategic calculations at play. You've got your ideological allies like Argentina and Hungary, who are betting on personal ties for political gain. Then you have the strategic hedgers like Vietnam, who see that $1 billion fee as an insurance premium against future U.S. tariffs. And finally, you've got the business opportunists, think Turkey and Saudi Arabia, who view this as a down payment to get in on lucrative reconstruction contracts. Everyone is making a calculated bet in this brand new marketplace. Now, this business-first approach is basically hardwired into its leadership. I mean, just look at the executive committee. You've got Jared Kushner from Affinity Partners, Mark Rowan from Apollo Global Management, a major real estate developer, Steve Witkoff, all sitting alongside political figures. It looks less like a diplomatic council and more like the board of a global investment firm, where geopolitical decisions are going to be driven by financial returns. But this new structure, it comes with some profound risks. It creates what you can only really describe as legal black holes in the existing world order. Let's unpack those right now. The really crucial point here is the power structure. The UN Security Council, with all its flaws, has a system of checks and balances thanks to the vetoes of its 5 permanent members. In the Board of Peace, all decisions are subject to the approval of one single person, Chairman Trump, who holds an absolute non-negotiable veto. This incredible concentration of power is exactly why G7 nations like France, Germany, and the UK have all refused to join. And this leads to something we've never seen before: the actual privatization of a superpower's foreign policy. The charter doesn't name the President of the United States as chairman. It names Donald Trump, the individual, as chairman for life. His authority is completely detached from the Oval Office. Which, of course, raises a massive constitutional and geopolitical question. What on earth happens if there's a change in the White House come 2028? The world could literally be faced with 2 competing centers of American foreign policy. You'd have the official State Department, run by a new administration, and then you'd have this parallel, shadow State Department, the Board of Peace, led by Donald Trump, recognized under international law and controlling billions of dollars in funds from its member states. You know, this model doesn't just challenge political norms, it challenges the very foundations of international law. Core principles, like the right to self-determination, are no longer treated as inalienable rights. Instead, they become negotiable items on a checklist you have to complete to access reconstruction funds. In this system, sovereignty itself is just another commodity to be bought and sold. So where does all this lead? What does this new world order defined by transactional governance actually look and feel like? One analyst, Hugh Levitt from the European Council on Foreign Relations, summed it up with a pretty stark and memorable phrase. Welcome to the jungle. So here we are, a world with two parallel global systems. On one side, you have the legacy system of the UN, built on the idea of legitimacy and international law. And on the other, you have this new system, the Board of Peace, built on the promise of transactional efficiency. For every single nation and every major corporation, the strategic calculus has fundamentally changed. You now have a choice: play by the old rules or pay to play in the new game. The old rulebook is being torn up before our eyes. We're entering an era where peace has a clear price tag, where influence is auctioned off to the highest bidder. And that leaves us with one final, very unsettling question. In this new global marketplace, what is the ultimate cost of admission?